I never thought a small rule in my neighborhood could start such a big fight. But when the HOA told me that my pets were not welcome, I knew this was not just about rules. This was about my family. And my pets are my family. They told me, pets are a nuisance. But I looked at my dog's eyes, full of love and loyalty, and I knew they were wrong. Pets are not a nuisance. They are the reason a house feels like home. And that day, I promised myself, no HOA rule was going to break that bond. The first letter from the HOA arrived like a slap in the face. Cold, formal, with words that cut deep. It said, effective immediately, no resident is allowed to keep pets in their home. My heart dropped. I held the paper in my hands, shaking, angry, confused. How could they say this? How could they decide that the wagging tails and purring cats that brought me joy were suddenly illegal? I looked around my living room. My dog was lying on the rug. My cat was curled up on the couch. Both of them looked at me with trust in their eyes. And in that moment, I whispered to myself, I will never give you up. But the HOA didn't stop. Oh no, they didn't. They followed up with warnings. Then came fines. Then came threats. They said, if you don't get rid of your pets, we'll take legal action. Can you imagine? A group of strangers, who didn't know the first thing about my life, telling me to break my family apart? I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was racing. I thought about moving out. I thought about fighting back. I thought about every moment my pets had saved me from loneliness, from sadness, from dark days. And I knew, this fight wasn't just for me. This was for every pet lover who had ever been told their companion wasn't welcome. The next HOA meeting was crowded, tense, and suffocating. Neighbors whispered. The board members sat with stiff smiles. And I stood up, shaking but determined. My pets are not leaving, I said. My voice echoed in the room. Some people clapped. Some glared. But I didn't care. I had finally spoken my truth. The board smirked. One of them said, rules are rules. If you don't like it, you can sell your house. That sentence burned into me. Sell my house? Just because I refused to abandon my dog and cat? The arrogance was unbelievable. But here's the thing. When life pushes you into a corner, you either break, or you fight back harder. And I chose to fight back. I started researching the HOA bylaws. I dug deep into every line, every clause, every loophole. And what I found shocked me. The HOA had been breaking their own rules for years. Misusing funds. Ignoring resident rights. Making decisions without proper votes. They weren't just unfair to me, they were corrupt. That discovery lit a fire in me. They thought they could bully me. But now I had something stronger than anger. I had proof. I called my lawyer. I showed him everything I had uncovered. He raised his eyebrows and said, "You've got them. You can turn this around." For weeks, I prepared. Documents, evidence, statements. And every night, I sat with my pets beside me, reminding me why I was doing this. Their warmth gave me strength. Their loyalty gave me courage. The next HOA board meeting was different. This time, I wasn't just a resident with pets. I was a fighter with evidence. I stood up, held my folder, and began. You tried to take my pets from me. But in doing so, you exposed yourselves. You broke the rules. And now, you will answer for it. Gasps filled the room. Papers shuffled. Board members looked at each other nervously. They knew I had them cornered. One of them stammered, "You can't prove." But I cut him off. "I can. And I will. And when I do, not only will my pet stay, but I'll make sure you never try to pull this stunt again." That was the moment the power shifted. From them to me. From fear to strength. From silence to voice. The story didn't end there. Because what I did next, no one in that room could have predicted. I bought the HOA's own dog park. Yes, you heard that right. The very park where they claimed pets were not welcome. I turned it into a sanctuary for every dog, every cat, every pet in the neighborhood. People laughed at first. They said I couldn't do it. They said it was impossible. But impossible is just a word until someone proves otherwise. And I proved it. Now, when I walk through that park, I see dogs running free, cats chasing butterflies, kids laughing, neighbors smiling. The same HOA board members who once tried to ban pets? They walk their dogs there too. The irony is beautiful. The victory is sweeter than words. Because I didn't just win for me. I won for every soul who knows that pets are not property. They are family. And to anyone listening right now who feels powerless against unfair rules, remember this: you are stronger than you think. Your voice matters. Your fight matters. And sometimes, the best way to fight back is to turn their no into your yes. This is not just a story about pets. This is a story about standing up. About refusing to be broken. About turning pain into power. And trust me, this fight was only just beginning. So, would you like to hear how I turned that small victory into a war that changed the entire HOA forever? The victory at the dog park felt amazing. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The HOA was humiliated, yes, but they weren't done. People with power rarely let go easily. They fight harder when their control slips away. And that's exactly what they tried to do. Days after I bought the dog park, I started receiving more letters. This time, the tone was nastier, sharper, dripping with bitterness. They said I was disrupting the community. They said I was setting a bad example. And worst of all, they accused me of turning neighbors against each other. I laughed when I read that, because the truth was the opposite. Neighbors were not against me, they were standing with me. For the first time, people in the community had hope. They saw someone challenging the board, and it made them realize they could challenge them too. But the HOA didn't care about truth. They cared about power. And when power slips, desperation begins. They called for a special meeting. The letter read, "We will be addressing disruptive behavior that is damaging the reputation of our community." That was their code for, "We're coming for you." I could have stayed quiet. I could have ignored it. But silence is a weapon for the powerful. And I had promised myself I would never stay silent again. So, I prepared. On the night of the meeting, the room was packed. More neighbors than ever before showed up. Some came out of curiosity. Some came out of support. And some came because they were tired of the board's control. The board members walked in with smug faces. They thought they could corner me, embarrass me, make me give up. But they didn't realize I had something they could never take from me, the truth. When my name was called, I stood tall. My voice shook at first, but then grew louder, stronger. You tried to take my pets. You failed. You tried to silence me. You failed again. And now, you are trying to break me with lies. But let me remind you, this is not just about me anymore. This is about all of us. Murmurs filled the room. People nodded. Some clapped softly. The board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I continued, "You claim I'm disrupting the community. But what about the times you raised fees without votes? What about the money spent without explanation? What about the rules you enforce on some but ignore for others? That is what disrupts a community." Boom. Silence. The board didn't expect me to bring receipts. But I had them. Pages of financial records. Emails. Notes. Proof of every shady move they had made. I dropped the stack of papers on the table. The sound echoed like thunder. "Here's the truth," I said. "And if you want to drag me through the mud, I'll drag the truth through the light." The room exploded. Neighbors gasped, whispered, some shouted, "Yes." For the first time, the power shifted again, not just to me, but to all of us. The board tried to regain control. One of them banged the gavel. "This is out of order," he shouted. I smiled. "No, this is justice." And that night, something magical happened. People who had been silent for years found their voices. One neighbor stood up and said, "You fined me for painting my door the wrong shade of blue. Meanwhile, you approved your friend's neon mailbox." Another neighbor added, "You ignored my complaints about broken lights, but you spent money on a private event for yourselves." One by one, voices rose. Stories poured out. The board members were drowning in the truth. And for the first time, they realized they had lost control. But it didn't stop there. I filed a petition. With enough signatures, the community could vote to remove the current board and elect a new one. At first, it felt impossible. But as days passed, support grew. People came to my door. They signed. They told me their stories. They thanked me. And when the petition was finally complete, the board had no choice. A special election was called. The day of the vote felt electric. The room was buzzing. Old neighbors who never cared about meetings showed up. Young families came. Even the quietest residents, the ones who never said a word, showed up. Because they knew it was time for change. The ballots were counted. One by one. My heart pounded in my chest. Sweat on my hands. The air was thick with anticipation. And then, the result came. The board was out. Every single one gone. The room erupted with cheers. People hugged. People cried. I felt a weight lift from my chest. Not because I had won, but because we had won. That night, I walked through the dog park. My dog ran ahead, chasing a ball. My cat followed behind, curious as always. I looked up at the stars and whispered, "We did it." But the story didn't end with victory. Because victory comes with responsibility. With the old board gone, we formed a new one. This time, with fairness, with transparency, with community at heart. Rules still existed, yes, but they were reasonable, humane, and fair. No one would ever again be told to give up their pets. No one would ever again be bullied into silence. And no one would ever again feel powerless against the people who claimed to serve them. The park became more than just a park. It became a symbol. A reminder that power belongs to the people. A reminder that pets are family. A reminder that one voice can spark a movement. And when I see kids running with their dogs, when I see elderly neighbors sitting with their cats in the sun, when I see families laughing together without fear, I know it was all worth it. Because this was never just about me. It was about us. About love. About loyalty. About never giving up on what matters most. And if you're listening right now, I want you to remember something important. You will face people who try to silence you. You will face rules that feel unfair. You will face moments when giving up feels easier than fighting back. But never forget, your voice matters. Your love matters. Your fight matters. Stand tall. Speak loud. And never let anyone take away what you hold dear. Because sometimes, the greatest victories come from the battles we never asked for. And sometimes, the biggest no turns into the most powerful yes. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs courage today. And remember, no matter how small you feel, you are stronger than you think. Stand up. Speak out. And fight for what matters.